I'm KK Reaper.
And I'm Lunar Reaper.
And this is A Frightful Eve. This evening, we will be reviewing Scream 6, about 4 survivors of the Ghostface murders who leave Woodsboro behind for a fresh start in New York City. However, they soon find themselves in a fight for their lives when a new killer embarks on a bloody rampage.
But first, the horror news.
Want to experience what working at a video store was like? With Torture Store Video's new survival horror game, Rewind or Die, now you can. You'll be playing as Tony, who is covering for his coworker at Video To Go. But beware, a serial killer named Slaw is on the prowl, and he has his sights set on your store. You can enjoy the nostalgia of this gritty PS1 style game on April 14th via Steam.
Drag Me to Hell has begun development. The 2009 hit movie starring Alison Lohman and Scream King Justin Long will be getting a sequel to explain further into the story after our main character Christine, spoiler alert, gets dragged to hell. Could our victim have been in limbo all this time, or will her grieving boyfriend find a way to summon her back? Time will tell.
Slasher is coming back to home screens with its 5th season called Ripper via Shudder and AMC+. This season will take place in the 19th century with a killer called the Widow, who deals out fatal punishments to the rich elite. One of those in his path is Basil Garvey, played by Eric McCormick, a charismatic tycoon whose success is only rivaled by his ruthlessness. The series premieres with 2 episodes on April 6th.
The new game trailer for Paranormal Tales has been released. A psychological thriller in first-person perspective, looping through what seems to be an infinite hallway that descends into a nightmare, mimicking the Silent Hill demo that never came to be.
The Tank, a new creature feature from filmmaker Scott Walker, is coming to select theaters this April. After mysteriously inheriting an abandoned coastal property, Ben and his family accidentally unleash an ancient, long-dormant creature that terrorized the entire region, including his own ancestors, for generations. The trailer is available now, and the film opens in theaters on April 21st. For more information on these events, check out the links in the description below.
And now for the review of Scream 6.
Alright, so we're going to preface this once again, even though it says it in the bumper that there are spoilers ahead, that there are definitely going to be spoilers ahead. So if you have not seen Scream 6 yet, please do so before you watch this. We'll wait. So I definitely dig the idea of Ghostface Takes Manhattan.
Yeah.
Even though, I mean, obviously you got it's the Jason trope. But
sure.
Scream gets to poke fun at all the slashers, so I guess that's fair game.
Absolutely.
I think that the fact that it was Ghostface in New York City makes that character a lot scarier.
Right, because you were definitely saying the realistic situation.
Yeah. The fact that, I mean, like, that Scream has always been a franchise about the fans being toxic and the fans, you know, like the fan base of it being overzealous with the concept and trying to recreate their own movie.
Yes.
But this is the first time that you see this many Ghostface killers all trying to play out their movie in the Big Apple.
Yep.
And I mean, you know, obviously you don't want to give that necessarily negative outlook to Manhattan, but there is that factor of, you know, you get people that are crazy enough to do it there.
Yes. People love to hate the city.
Right. And I think the thing that makes that much scarier too is the little bit of psychology, the Kitty Genovese effect, where it's sort of like if you yell out to anyone in a crowd, they're not going to respond to Like the same way that when Mindy gets stabbed on the train.
Yeah.
You know, if there wasn't EMTs directly there, everyone was just videotaping. Everyone was just completely disinterested in trying to help the situation.
Right. The whole, like responsibility amongst the crowd. Like everyone assumes like, well, there's a million people here. Like someone else is going to do something.
Exactly. Yeah.
Everyone has that idea. So nobody does anything.
Right.
So, yeah, that subway scene, that could easily happen.
Oh, yeah, yeah. No, absolutely. I mean, and again, that's what makes it all the scarier. Like, the fact that you see, like, 3 different Ghostface, like, you're already, like, tensed up, and she gets it, and the woman right across from her has, like, her headphones in, she's, like, nodding off or whatever, doesn't realize a damn thing, you know? And it's very much real to the city. I mean, people step right over you, you know?
Yep.
So definitely that was a great factor in this. And I do think that Ghostface is much more brutal in this than he has been.
Well, I'll tell you my favorite one right in the beginning.
Yeah.
That fridge.
Right.
I loved that fridge scene when I knew, like, the phone call with the roommate and he's playing hot and cold saying he can get closer. The moment he directed it to the kitchen, I was like, he's in the fridge. But I thought it was just going to be like, not as chopped up.
Yeah,
like, you
no,
open
not
that
as
fridge,
brutalized.
and I was
yeah.
like, oh, well, we really did it this way.
Yeah, right.
Interesting. I liked it.
Yeah. I mean, and that you know, it's another Scream movie trope of having the intro piece being something related to the killers. Obviously Scream 1, it was the original killers. But I know in Scream 4, they did that whole intro where it was like a movie inside a movie inside a movie and stuff like that. But yeah, that opening sequence with, I guess would you call that a red herring Ghostface? Like, it's not the true...
Yeah, I guess so.
Yeah.
That's not an incorrect term.
Right.
Maybe you can coin that, put that out there, KK Reaper.
Right.
Original source.
But yeah, he, you know, when he's on the couch. That's another great thing I want to point out, too, about the Easter eggs in this movie. Because there's such room for it, with all the... you know, it being Halloween in the city, everyone's dressed up like Freddy, Michael.
I think I saw a Babadook.
There was a Babadook in there. Yeah.
There was some good. There was a couple of characters, and I'm like, oh, they know that one. They can't come to mind, but I really enjoyed that scene.
It's so funny to me that's the second reference from the new Scream movies of the Babadook, because in the fifth one, she does that whole. That's one of her list of favorite movies.
Yes, I mean that's a cult classic, and I feel like when people like producers really like feed in and figure out what people are locked in on, especially after that whole Netflix mix-up that made the Babadook like
that's true too
popular.
Yeah,
they know what we want to see
on the LGBT section. Yeah,
he's an ally.
He's an ally. Yeah, and I guess that fits the theme of the movie. I do think that's something this movie does better than the fifth one. Both the meta commentary of the film, kind of acknowledging itself as a horror film. I think the fifth one did that a lot because it was trying to be the first one.
The self-aware horror movie.
Right. I mean, it was trying to take the original and be like, this is Scream. That's why they called it just Scream, you know?
Yeah.
And, you know, as far as introducing the new characters with the legacy characters, that's kind of neat. But otherwise, it was like when
what are the characters called? What did he call them when he's just like...
What was the... What?
It's like, oh, Core 4.
Oh, yeah. The
Core 4.
Yeah.
Continue.
Yeah, well, see, I don't know. Something about the interactions between them seemed a lot more natural now. And maybe that's also just in the fact that they've been together now on the set, you know, more than once. But in the fifth one, like the whole I'll be right back, and they're like, it's like, oh, come on. All right, we get it.
Really? That didn't bother me so much.
It was okay. I mean, it was just it was a little much. I appreciated it on the level as a Scream fan, I guess, but it's a lot.
Okay.
But they toned down the meta commentary a bit. They turned up the gore and the gutsiness of it a lot.
Yeah.
And they still held true to the whole them trying to figure out what the narrative was, what the killer was going for. I like they did the parallel of what was it? Tara and Sam Carpenter now in college, and it's the second movie for them.
I think they specifically like ran to the city, and then she ended up rolling in college, and they're like, "This is our little private bit where no one can find us," and everyone found them.
Well, yeah, right. Well, I don't know what made them think that the city was the place to be. If you want to go anywhere, it's going to be more rural. But also, I mean, I guess that's, I'm sure that the toss-up there was Tara and Sam debating on whether or not they wanted to continue to live their lives. Like, Tara wanted to very much just erase that from her history. And Sam was kind of, stuck on it. Yeah.
Yeah.
And therapy wasn't helping.
No, the therapist sucked.
Yeah. The therapist, once he found out what happened, was like, oh.
See, at first, I thought I was like, is this a detective undercover? Because he was digging so much, I was like, is she going to say something? He's going to, like, whip out a badge, but to see her be like, hey, I killed this dude, and I may have not hated it. And he just, like, packed up his stuff and was like, oh, I can't do it.
Yeah,
I
right.
should have just been a dancer like I wanted.
Yeah, right. I think that opened up a good chapter for Sam too, in the sense of now you weren't really sure. Like in the first one, they kind of alluded to the fact that she was having the Billy hallucinations and that being her father, that she was almost like destined for serial killer lifestyle. But this one really made you think, like, is it possible that she's like actually just actively hallucinating and she's actually the killer?
Right.
And I think that made the hallucination thing a lot more realistic than the fifth one. Because in the fifth one, again, it was another thing when they first introduced that and they had Billy pop up, which very cool, like, cameo.
Yeah.
But that felt like the jumping the shark moment for me.
Okay.
Like, you think so? I
don't disagree.
Yeah. I think it was a little, again, just a little bit like, what? For considering that the whole series up until that point has been very real people in real scenarios. And, like, not to say that the hallucination thing couldn't be real, but it was, like, so highly exaggerated.
Sure, and I think it's a lot of the movies really rely on nostalgia, so I think a lot of the times they're like, all right, we're building this tension, insert familiar character, everyone in movie theater be like, yes,
Right,
so,
yeah.
And there's nothing wrong to be excited about a familiar face in a series that you're obviously waiting for certain flashbacks or returns and stuff like that, but it certainly is sometimes where you can tell, like, all right.
They really, forced it in.
Put this in there for nostalgia quickly.
Right.
Got it.
And that, I think that's a good segue, too, into the, actually, I will say, I just want to bring it up because it's one of my favorite things. Shotgun Ghostface.
Yeah.
Is freaking hilarious.
Yes.
It's almost like, I feel like I bring it up all the time. A chapter out of Terrifier's book.
Oh, my God.
But,
we are big Terrifier fans.
Slashers using guns?
Sure.
When? Like Art the Clown? Onward.
Yeah.
That's all I'll say about that. I won't go into. I won't fangirl any further.
Well, depending where you live, maybe they've honed in, and be like, "Wow, people are really afraid of guns now. Let's put this on in there."
That's also true. That's sort of my middle ground on whether or not that pulls us too far out of the fantasy of it. But I do think that in this particular case, it was just so outlandish that it was not that it was impossible, but Ghostface doing it was.
I get it.
You know what I mean?
Maybe it's a removal of how personal it can be. the whole reason where this trio of Ghostface came in was that it was a family seeking revenge on the sisters, naturally. But when we go back to it, it's a close-knit high school friend group and all that stuff. So maybe like the use of weapon is intent. Knives are so much more personal, where guns can be more broad. So I don't know if it's the removal of how personal it is, the killing.
Okay.
That's where I think about, like, sometimes things are random. I would like to think of something in depth as your, main murderer's choice of weapon. I would hope that people would put much more thought into when and how and why. So if they are using a gun, it's probably like the distance between the true passion behind the killing.
That's actually a really good point, and that's something.
Thank you.
But it makes a very interesting perspective for this movie in particular too, because that also leaves to the imagination, I think, of, because it's Scream in the big city, and the idea of that was that anyone could be Ghostface, really. Mm-hmm. I think the fact that Ghostface using a shotgun to hunt his prey disconnects him from his victims means that it almost looks like that Ghostface in particular just doesn't care who he's killing. Mm-hmm. So it almost seems like that one doesn't even have a motive, which would kind of throw you off from the end result that we realize is, who the killers are.
Just a person finishing a movie.
Right, exactly, yeah. So like, and especially if you have that whole opening sequence where it is just those two scrubs that are trying to finish a film.
Probably mansplaining Quentin Tarantino films.
Right. In film class, yeah. Yeah, that poor teacher, man. That's rough.
Have you ever seen Pulp Fiction?
Oh.
Probably wouldn't
with that exact face.
It's very niche film. You probably don't know what it is.
Oh my god. That's painful.
I've heard it a lot.
But yeah, that I guess that is a good segue into our final conclusion here, which is legacy and likable characters not getting their just desserts. And also our killers and who they could have, should have, would have been. I think that Gail and Chad in this movie could have probably bit the dust.
Yeah.
And I think that they kept Gail because they want to bring Neve Campbell back for 7, and they want Gail to at least have a last hurrah with her, if not survive the entire franchise.
Yes.
I think they brought Chad back because hot guy love interest.
Sure.
Yeah. And
it's a horror movie without sexual tension.
Right. Yeah.
Boring.
I was surprised that they went the direction with Tara and Chad. I didn't.
Really?
Yeah. For some reason, I didn't see that happening.
I think it's a probably obvious moment of, let's give this nice guy, let's give him a win. There's got to be a name for that one character that just gets sliced, diced, served on rice, and then still has this moment of, I'm alive and okay. There's got to be a phrase for it.
Ridiculous.
Fine.
I mean, well, that was my biggest strife. Like, the thing with Gail being, stabbed in the side with the glass and all that, I was like, okay, she's in rough shape, and she's obviously older than our new characters. Mm-hmm. But faint heartbeat brought to the hospital, I can kind of see.
Yeah.
Chad was filleted.
Yeah.
And still came back. I was like, how? No. But,
he still needed that check, so they brought him over to the next movie.
Right. Yeah, exactly. But yeah, that also, I guess, brings us to our final wrap-up points here, which is we end up with the Ghostface reveal. By the way, very cool, the shrine.
Yeah.
I do like the collection. That was pretty cool. I don't know if you know this, but they actually did in Manhattan a couple of days where they let people go through the shrine and stuff, which was very cool.
Lucky.
But yeah, so you get all this awesome symbolism of Sam with Billy's mask and knife and all that stuff, and him being like, "This is awesome, a shrine to me," even though it's in her head. So how? But okay, and you end up with Kirby being the potential suspect up until you realize that who is it? Ethan Landry, the roommate, who turns out to be Ethan Bailey.
Sus.
Sus. Ethan, Wayne was the dad, and Quinn was the other roommate. That was actually, I will give them that. Quinn dying and being looking like dead was pretty convincing, Yes. I would have thought that she was just a dead character and that was it. But the fact that they brought her back was very cool. And they tie in the whole thing of, again, right from the start, Scream 1, Billy, he's like, fake blood, corn syrup.
Yep.
But yeah, as far as them being our killers go, it's okay.
All right.
The Richie motive, Richie being the brother and Richie being killed by Sam.
Yeah.
I get at least there's a clear motive. It explains why there was the revenge talk. It explains why they kill the fraudulent Ghostface. And why their kills are so much more brutal in this movie than a lot of previous ones. Because it really was just a mission for getting the Carpenter twin or the Carpenter sisters and just getting rid of them.
Yeah,
it had nothing. This was less the incentive of the finishing Richie's movie and all that stuff. Even Wayne says I don't really get my son's obsession with it, but it was something that brought us close together. Great final kill. I love the way he goes out, Sam gives into her true nature and but ends up dropping Billy's mask and she's still a good guy as far as we know.
Yeah, I mean, she's doing her best. They're teeter-tottering and I feel like they're just teasing for a real moment of her just being like, I'm going to give in to these hallucinations or visions or whatever.
Yeah. I don't think that I would be very surprised if come Scream 7 they went that direction, but I mean it's anyone's guess I guess at this point.
Yeah. I don't think they would spend this much time hinting to it without having a movie where it really is about her struggle of not becoming who her father was.
Right, yeah. Yeah, I mean
hypothesis.
that is ultimately what the new franchise is about.
Yeah.
But going into our alternate ending theories, I did obviously the whole everyone's a suspect and Mindy being the know-it-all of horror is you're this for this reason, so on and so forth. But Gale's was, to me, the most interesting plot point of this is helping her sell her books after she's fallen out of relevance. I know they'd never do that. That would have been a crazy... my mind would have been blown if that was the ending.
Love the punch in the face.
Oh, of course.
I love how they had the whole psych, and they knew we needed that satisfaction.
I knew it this time. Yeah.
Then the little sister really got her.
Right. But I do think that if that had been the ending twist for her, that would have been a very interesting. Yeah. And I the only reason that I thought that too is because they make the reference to what would Dewey have thought. And she's like, that's a low blow. I kind of thought that it was going to tie it all into what would Dewey have thought if you were Ghostface. But I did like the fact that I'm sure the fan theory that Stu, Matthew Lillard, was supposed to make a return.
Yes.
And they did reference that in the film, which was hilarious. Because, I mean... I'm sorry, but Stu is dead. I love Matthew Lillard too.
I know what the kids want.
Yeah.
Y'all are thirsty for the stew, and that's fine, but What's done is done.
What's done is done.
You can see him in something else.
He has a active TV dropped on his face, and
he's done.
Yeah, even if he wasn't, they would have brought him out on a stretcher, and he would have been.
He would have not looked like what you once wanted.
Right. Well, I mean, that would have been interesting too if Wayne takes off his mask, Ginny takes off her mask, and then there was a small sliver of me in the back of my head that was like, the third guy's gonna be Stu, and like it was gonna be his face all like wrecked. That would have
that would have been pretty good.
Yeah,
I think that would have been the thing to make me audibly lose my mind in the theater.
Right.
That would make me go like, oh, you know.
There was for so long as that theory was building up, I was saying that if that happened, I would walk out of the movie theater because it's just so absurd. But as we got closer to the release date and I learned more and more about the movie itself, I was like, do it. I was like, just do it.
Do it.
Do it. But yeah, I do like I appreciate the fact though that I guess the writers must have caught on to this, and so they did give Ethan the Stu Mocker aesthetic, personality wise. What does he say he says something to Sam. He's like, I always wanted to stick something in you, Sam.
Yeah.
Which is very much I always had a thing for you, Sid. Like, it's very paralleled, and finally he gets the same TV that was dropped on Stu, dropped on him.
And he can die the virgin.
And he can die the virgin. That was a rough, like, Ginny getting hit with the, right, Ginny? Was that her name? Oh, no, sorry. Why am I saying Ginny? Quinn getting hit with the brick.
Uh-huh.
Teeth falling out. I was like, oof.
We all have a thing for teeth.
Wayne getting stabbed in the eye.
Mm-hmm.
And...
that was personal.
Yeah. And Ethan getting stabbed in the throat.
Yeah.
Deep throating the knife. I was like, ow.
I feel like everyone just did like the...
Yeah, right. I was expecting him to throw up blood. I thought he was going to through the knife. Oh, yeah. But yeah, I mean, so that brings us pretty much to our final consensus. I think that all in all,
I think it was a fun time.
It was a fun time. Ghostface Takes Manhattan was a win.
Yeah, I liked it.
The killers, The
kills.
The kills. Yeah. Very good.
This.
And plot lines tied better together.
Yes.
Friendships bonded deeper.
And
broken.
And broken.
Can't find your roommates on Craigslist.
Luna.
Yeah. Oh my God.
Can't happen.
KK and Luna Reaper.
What, Bartholomew?
What is the final verdict?
Although every Scream fan will no doubt miss our final girl in this installment, Scream 6 holds its own by being hard-hitting in concept and kills.
Despite the somewhat lackluster killer reveal, all Ghostface killers take on their most vicious iterations in the series, in an incredibly unpredictable environment that really adds to the thrills. And for that, we give this film an 8.5 out of 10.
That's our show. Thanks for tuning in.
And until next time, Ghosts and Ghouls, have a frightful eve.